So to give you some context on my life, my stepfather growing up was a crazy alcoholic, and he's still an alcoholic to this day. I have had this urge inside and this desire to want to coach him through the process of changing and getting through and making a breakthrough. And honestly, it's been rough. He lives in Buffalo. I'm in North Carolina. And I think the biggest problem is the enabler, the one in their life that doesn't push them. And it's hard because for years I've prayed for him. I know God can change people from the inside out. They can give people visions. They can show them certain things, but that person has to be willing to put in the work to put the past to the past. And honestly, it's been crazy because I don't know why I feel like I still have this hope inside, and I feel like I have this need to create this space or this way for him to move beyond it. I've processed everything, and I want to thank God for giving me this ability to get through the hard times in my life and to really process every emotion fully, to be present here today with my family. And, you know, I'm present here with my family because God has gifted me this beautiful gift to be here and to be present. And did I work hard at it? Oh, yes, you bet I did. I honestly put my heart and soul into yoga to process pain through each movement and to meditate, to pray, and to give God everything that I had to be here. I didn't know how bad repressed feelings would be until I got to this point in my life. So here I am today at this point in my life, and I'm a mom of 3, and I really value the relationship that you can have with God and the relationship that you can have to grow yourself and to really branch out and share the Word of God with others. And I think that's what's missing from a lot of Christianity today, is they're not open about it. And when we are open about it, yes, we get faced with some backlash, but at the end of the day, we are encouraged to go out and spread the Word of God with others. So when I do go and meet with, other people and I share the Word of God, I just feel like there's this unrelenting hope and this joy that can be found if you grow your relationship with God, and everyday miracles happen. Yes, this world is a cruel place. This world is crazy. It's chaos. It's really odd. It's odd and it's challenging. And I say, the devil will let himself in your life anytime that he can. And I think the biggest challenge is really living with someone in your family that is suffering from this addiction. And addiction is really no joke for me because it runs in my family and I've seen it destroy people's lives over time. And I pray, the closer I am with Jesus, I feel like the more potential I have and the more clarity I have. And honestly, with clarity comes also other challenges. The clearer things are, the more difficult it becomes to build on that relationship with that family member, or to really, I don't want to say relate, but really encourage them. And I never stop trying. I just feel closer to my feelings than before. And this particular person is very trying sometimes, but at the end of the day, I just give it to God. And this is supposed to give anyone hope that really struggles with thinking that there is outside help, because God is always listening, God is always hearing, and God is ever strong in your life if you really let Him in. And you just have to eliminate those distractions in your life that are taking you away from His relationship in your life. And I decided to purchase, a lot of ways to encourage me to read more into the Bible, spend more time with God every day. And I just place them precariously throughout my life, throughout my day, to be more present with Him. And sometimes that's what you have to tell that person that's overcoming the addiction to do. Remove all the toxic things from your life. place them to the side. Do not go near them. Do not tempt yourself. The devil will tempt you again and again and again. Just be present and remove those things. Avoid them like the plague. But I tell myself, there's a purpose for all of us here in this world. There's a reason that God put us in this place for a reason. There's a reason, and sometimes we have to work on ourselves to find that reason. Sometimes we have to dig deep inside to know the reason. But what matters is that we stay true to ourselves, true to our values, and true to our relationship with God. That's what matters in this world. So I was thinking this morning, I had a flashback to when my stepdad was a religious athlete. He was huge on running every morning. I would ride my bike next to him. He would run the neighborhood, and we would literally have that time together. I remember from my childhood, he bought butterflies once for me for Christmas, and we spent time watching them go in their cocoon and emerge into beautiful butterflies. And that's symbolic of my adulthood because, honestly, I've worked so hard to be where I am today that I want to encourage him to do the same in his life, to evolve, to come out of his cocoon and leave behind the past, the trauma. And generational trauma runs deep. I want him to not be the person he doesn't want to be, but to leave behind the toxicity. And that requires discipline. That requires going back in time and remembering when you were clean and when you were present. That requires ripping off the Band-Aid and being present for the ones you love, for yourself, and knowing that you can start over again. You have this ability to begin again, and that requires pushing by someone else. That's why when you go to AA, you get a sponsor, the one that encourages you to be here for yourself, to let go and not be tempted by the devil over and over again. In this world, we will always be tempted by the devil. Having clarity to know when the devil is present and knowing when to avoid him is so relevant, and we have to be aware of it, because if not, we will make these same mistakes over and over again, and the pattern will continue. So be present for yourself and know that the devil is here. Whether you believe it or not, you might not even see it because he disguises himself in crazy ways. Want to know how the devil disguises himself? He disguises himself on social media content, and he tells you things that may not be true, false lies, and things that disturb you and frighten you and send fear into your life. But when you are a believer in God and you give yourself to God and you talk to him when you're scared, when you're worried, and when you're fearful, your faith will come through, no doubt. Just give yourself the ability to let him guide your life, because there's so much temptation out in this world, even for addicts. And when I recall these memories from my childhood of when we had butterflies, I remember my brother wasn't even around, and we had this room that was my brother's room later on, where we had this beautiful place, and we let them free. We lived on the 3rd floor in this apartment. Maybe it was the 2nd or 3rd floor. It felt like the 3rd floor. But outside the window, we let them free. There was a pine tree. I would climb this pine tree often and crawl in through the window. And I was a fearless child. I was so fearless that climbing that pine tree, getting sap in my hair, and really being a tomboy was so intentionally amazing, because I had no fear of falling. I had no fear that it was going to fall, jumping in from the limb of the tree to the window, that my life was fearless. Now, when you go on in life and have all these experiences and changes, you really grow a fear to different things. You fear what might happen if you take the risk and fall. And that's what happens in life when you have things that are interfering in your life, these toxic things, this chaos that evolves in your life. You fear what might happen if you take the risk. You fear what might happen if you allow God to take the wheel. You fear what might happen if you give up that addiction. And that addiction may not be the same as what is with my stepdad, but it may be something else in your life. And to be honest, for me, that addiction for a long time was yoga. And I honestly, it made my life, it was hot yoga to be specific. I'm not against yoga at all, but honestly, I let it control how fast my life was moving. My life was moving way too fast, and I couldn't be present, ironically, because the yoga that I was doing was so fast-paced that it pushed me to be so fast and so rushed and so pushed. And honestly, when it comes to addiction, you have to quit it cold turkey. You have to avoid it. You have to see what life is like through the lens of not doing whatever the addiction is. And it's hard. It's rough. There'll be withdrawal periods. But at the end of the day, you come out a different person. You feel evolved. You feel real. You feel really changed. And it's hard to push that toward the person that's really addicted to something, that's been addicted to it for a long time, because it's a Band-Aid for them. They're covering their feelings with it. They're hiding their real emotion with it. They feel like the only way that they can really hide their pain is through this addiction. Make no doubt, they might think that they're doing better because they're only drinking 1 or 2 drinks a night. However, are they really? They're really not. At the end of the day, they are really struggling to accept that they have to sacrifice it. The only way to sacrifice is to give their life to God and have faith in something else. That's the best way to become present in your life with anything. And God can do crazy things and perform miracles. And the only way to be present for these things is to allow yourself to be present for Him and allow Him in your life. Accept and pray to Him and sacrifice everything and give it to Him.